Tell them what you bought.
I bought a radiogram because it's my house and I have room to put a radiogram in my house.
Wow, very nice. I'm sitting in the room that is going to become my home office. This right here is the mood board for what we're going for with my home office. My brother's incredible fiance is studying interior design and she is helping us to plan out this whole house and design it room by room, and I am so in love with these walls, this house. You've probably seen my empty house tour. If not, I'll link that down below. If you haven't, my husband and I have just bought a 50-year-old bungalow in Dublin. I've had so many questions about the process of buying a house and why we picked this house and just loads of house buying stuff. So I got some questions from you on Instagram and I'm going to answer those. If you did watch the empty house tour, you may remember our fireplace dilemma and whether or not we should expose the stone fireplace behind the current mahogany fireplace. And a lot of you were suggesting that we ask the previous owners, the people who built the house, for a photograph, and they gave us loads of photographs. Here is what it looks like, and you know, obviously we can repoint the stone, like the grout can be changed and we can cut into it more and put a stove in and put a mantle on like old wood, so kind of leaning toward that. Exciting times ahead. It just still feels weird to even think that I'm filming a Q&A in a house that like I own. So many of you know how much of a dream it's been of mine to be a homeowner for years and years. How long was the wait between putting in the offer and getting the keys? So we started looking at houses in August 2021 and we went sale agreed in October, and yeah, then we got the keys in January. So to some that might sound like a long time, but to us that was so much quicker than what we were expecting, just based on stories that float around. Like, you always hear the worst stories, I think. How many offers did you make before getting one accepted? A lot of you asked this, and actually it was only 2. We made an offer on a house in a place called Knoll, and it was this beautiful old cottage, much smaller than this house. It was half the size of this house, but it had a lot more land. So we're on half an acre here. The house we originally wanted to buy had a few acres. During the pandemic, my husband and I realized how much it mattered to us to be surrounded by nature and have gardens, and just kind of how important our like immediate surroundings actually are, because obviously during lockdowns we were all spending all our time in our houses, but I don't know, I've just realized, like, just in general, like having a child now and stuff, I'm at home a lot, so it's really important to me that I like love where I am. And anyway, like, this place just took our breath away when we went to see it and stuff, but I did have like such a bad gut feeling that it was too isolated, you know, like you couldn't just walk to a shop. It ticked a lot of our boxes. It had space for my dad to build his own like mini house, something that was really important to my husband and I. It had space for our child and future children to like be outside all the time. The house had loads of character and everything. Moving in here though, like realizing how much stuff we accumulated in our 20s and like having to like declutter and everything. There is no way in hell that house would have been right for us at all. So we're actually so glad that that fell through. Yeah, because otherwise we wouldn't have discovered this house, and it's just perfect for us. The house that we bought for the asking price. And the story behind this is just so bizarre. Like, it would make you believe in fate. Honestly, like, we showed up for the viewing and the agent wasn't here. The owners were here and they were like, there's no viewing today. We were like, there is at 2 p.m. and they were like, nope. It was just this awkward moment, you know, and it was also a house we just assumed we wouldn't get because of the location. It's very close to lots of things, like the airport for my husband's job, and it's very close to shops, like walking distance from shops, a short drive from family and friends. And we're standing there in the driveway and the owners are just looking at us and it's all awkward. And then my mother-in-law gets out of the car. It turns out that they recognize her from like when she was younger. What was supposed to be a house viewing turned into this like 2-hour-long chat, and almost like a tea party where we were all just like sharing stories. We fell more and more in love the whole time we were sitting there talking to this couple, because, you know, they had such a long, happy, healthy life here, and you could feel it. Like, you know, when you can just feel those positive vibes, and I just was like, I really want this house. But yeah, I rang the agent and I was like, why are you not here? And he was like, you never replied. And I was like, I did reply, but my reply was in my, what's that folder where they didn't send, like, drafts in my emails, because I think I must have gotten distracted by my son or something, and because we had so many viewings of houses on and it was just all yeah, if that email had have sent, then that random viewing wouldn't have happened. And anyway, we ended the viewing where they were like, we just want this house to go to a lovely family who will look after it. And like, they clearly didn't want it to go to an investor. Could feel that they would have opted for like a couple like us over a cash buyer or something. We bid the asking price and the next day they accepted it. And tell me that was not meant to be, and I will fight you. We were going to apply for a mortgage early 2020, and then when COVID hit, it was just not happening. There was no way, because my husband's job was so impacted by COVID, and the two of us needed to like both be in a very strong position to get the amount of a mortgage that we would need to buy a house in Dublin. And then we were living with my in-laws all the way through the pandemic, and it ended up being a lot longer than we expected. So that is the main reason we gave up on the kind of dream, I suppose, of building our own house right now anyway, because yeah, a few of you asked that, like, was building a house an option? And because I had talked about that and we were looking at land and stuff, but then we spoke to some friends who built their own houses, and it is a long, complicated process, especially right now during COVID. The costs of everything have gone up so much, and it just, yeah, like even buying the land alone would have cost so much, that then to also build a house on top of it and to just get all of the right permissions and this, that and the other, like that was just too much. Any tips when picking a house/area, just starting the search for a new build? Loads of you were asking about, like, you know, why did we choose an older house instead of a new build and all this kind of stuff. So first, let's talk about the pros and cons of the type of house. So with a new build, well, one, you can avail of the Help to Buy scheme in Ireland. But besides that, if you're getting a fixed price, you're immediately eliminating the possibility of bidding wars. There were questions about, you know, are there bidding wars in Ireland? Yes. Some houses are selling like from 30,000, 40,000 on average above the asking price, up to 200,000 above the asking price in Dublin anyway. But I know this is a problem all around the country now, and it's just so out of control. It's a crisis. The whole situation makes me beyond angry, so I'm not going to get into that right now, but it's bad. Another huge pro with buying a new house is that they're way more energy efficient. Way more, like so well insulated. My cousin and his wife were saying that they never have to turn on their heating. They, like, even in the winter will open windows. Like their house is so warm. Yeah, it's all like new interiors and open plan, so they're very modern. The cons with buying a new build, so if you really like value your privacy, you may have to contend with noisy neighbours. Obviously, new builds are often very close to one another, and yeah, like a lot of the time they'll have a patch of concrete out the front and back, and then it's up to you to kind of do what you will with that, and it can take a long time for like landscaping and all that. So secondhand homes, pros and cons. There are just as many pros and cons. So it really depends on you and what you want. With secondhand homes, they do have more character typically, usually no two are alike, so they're quite unique, and that can really help with resale, like seeing your house as an investment, I suppose. Far more often than not, they're really well built, and they're also usually closer to like public transport, like established public transport links, and they've got great access oftentimes to shops. If you're looking for land and space, you have way more options if you're looking to buy an older house. You might get lucky and find that like someone who built a house very recently is like selling it or whatever, and maybe they built kind of out the country or whatever, but it's hard to come by those kinds of properties and they get snapped up anyway. But the cons are quite, you know, big important things to really chew on and think about before you buy a second hand older house. There are so many hidden costs in terms of renovation. Like, we already have 2 leaks here. We need to insulate the attic. We need to replace all the windows across the back of the house. We're completely rebuilding the utility, which was a terribly built extension and it's covered in mold. Like, the mold has grown out of control since we moved in, so that's happening very, very soon, like literally next week or the week after. Hidden costs, renovation is just so expensive, so it can cost a lot to make your house as energy efficient as a newer house. And while this house has solar panels, there's room for more. There's a lot of plumbing work getting done next week, in order, like, we literally have to buy a whole new like water tank, and it's getting moved to a different location and just have better water pressure, and like, yeah, there's way more things that will probably go wrong because it's an old house. Like, this house had only one family ever lived here, you know, and they seem to only have replaced the electrics once. So every time we're renovating a room, so the office which I'm in right now, as we do this room up, like before the new floor goes in, the plumber will have to replumb and you know, with the radiator, and we'll have to get an electrician to like add more plug sockets and rewire the wires. And so when you think about that across an entire house, like, and this house is quite big, it's 180 square meters, and that's before my dad builds on his granddad flat, the Murphy wing as we will be referring to it. He'll be building that on the side of the house, like knocking the garage, knocking the shed, and like, yeah, we've an architect on that right now, just doing up all plans. There's just so many things. We keep joking that it's like the money pit. Thomas opened the front door one day and like the thing at the bottom fell off that like prevents the water from coming in, and little things keep happening. It's just yeah, it's crazy. But you know, we budgeted for all this stuff, so we wouldn't have bought this house if we didn't think that we could afford to do all that needed to be done. And also if we were like impatient, because it's going to take years and years and years to feel in any way done. But then they do say you're never done with a house, kind of like with cleaning, it's like the tide. But yeah, in terms of the area, it really depends on stuff like, do you drive, do you work from home, or like, do you need to be close to work, kids, school, what schools do you want your kids to go to, family, friends, like you have to sit down and make lists and like talk this stuff through, know what you are and aren't willing to compromise on, because that's something like we did compromise a bit on location to tick the majority of our boxes, and we're so glad that we did, because it wasn't even a huge jump. It was like 15-minute drive, and originally we would have been like, no, we would rather live in a bathtub here than live in, you know, the perfect house anywhere outside of this area. And that is the way we felt until the pandemic. And I think, yeah, we just, I don't know, like, our values changed, our understanding of the actual situation we were faced with changed, like how realistic we were being changed. We also realized, you know, like, we don't have to stay here forever. We're gonna treat this house as if it's the forever home. But, you know, one day in 20 years, we may easily be able to move to like the dream location, and you know, it's not something we need right now. And our friends have been great with like coming here. It's not in any way been a bad idea to like make that compromise. But we didn't want to leave Dublin for very important reasons. Like, my husband flies out of the airport, he does long haul, he did not want a long commute when he landed, you know, and that is fair enough. We also wanted to be near our extended families, our wider friendship kind of circles, like all in Dublin, and it's our home, and I don't think people should have to sacrifice on wanting to live where they feel at home because of government failings. Like, there is a line and there is a balance. Like, I see a lot of Facebook articles just, and the comments are just so full of vitriol and people fighting and like saying awful things about like just young people who are frustrated with the fact that they've been like a hamster on a wheel just trying to buy a house in somewhere like Dublin, and they can't because they keep being outbid because investors are coming and like snatching up all the houses, and so few houses were built during the pandemic that like now there's a supply issue. And we need to be able to talk about this stuff, and especially we need to be able to talk about the fact that if people who are financially successful, privileges aside, if financially successful people struggle to buy pretty basic 3-4 bedroom houses anywhere in the country, that's an issue, because what it means is that people who aren't as privileged financially are really going to struggle. And yeah, there's just so much to talk about on that topic. Oh my god. How did you decide the house was right for you and that it would be your forever home? So many things. So the main thing we loved was the floor plan, like the layout. We viewed some weird ass houses when we were viewing houses, like backwards archways built houses. One of them in Lusk, you had to like walk through 2 living rooms to get to the master bedroom. And it was just, I was like, who planned this house? It was beautiful, but it was just so, no. This house, I just love, you walk in and the hallway is so welcoming. On your right, like all the bedrooms were like along a corridor, which is similar to my in-laws' house. I just really loved it. It just makes sense, that the floor plan makes sense. Loved that there was no stairs because we've got kids, and just the panic about children and stairs is very real. You know, then you're not like worrying about making noise upstairs, and it's great because when my son is asleep and with white noise on down this end of the house, you can be having the TV blasting so loud down this end, partying, and he can't hear a thing. So we just loved that. We absolutely love the gardens, front and back. The front garden is bigger than the back garden, but like they kept the gardens immaculate, and they were really into gardening. They left us loads of gardening books so we can keep it up. And the other day, like I was showing you on Instagram, we went out and bought like a watering can and a fucking weeding gloves and just fertilizer for the plants. And I have a little app that tells me what the plants are and how to keep them alive. Like, it's just, yeah, like all of that stuff. I just wouldn't have given a shite about it 10 years ago, but now I just have to be outside more, and I have to be around plants, and it's just, it comes through in my novel coming soon called Glass Houses, the transformative healing power of nature. We just adored the trees, and there's these little like doorways that lead out onto a farm, and like you could, it's just so beautiful. It's quirky, it's got so many little quirks about it, and it has so much potential as well to like make it bigger. There's a whole loft area that could be, you know, done up. Then again, this area at the side of the house for where my dad is going to build, like a, say, about 60 square meters granddad flat scenario. Like, it was just perfect. Honest to God, like it was the feeling. It was just, we could visualize ourselves living here the first time we came through the door, and that just meant so much. Like, we weren't looking at the decor, like the old carpets and the old kitchen, and we were looking at the potential, and that matters more than anything. Was applying for the mortgage really difficult? Someone else asked as well, how easy was it to get? While I was editing this video, I realised I wanted to encourage you to follow Crazy House Prices on Instagram. He has so much helpful content on there and breaks down everything involved in the whole mortgage timeline. Like, a lot happens between organising your solicitor and the solicitor completing the final legal checks. Yeah, honestly, this Instagram page was like our Bible. I wouldn't say difficult, I would say time consuming and stressful, because like on both ends, like Thomas and I both had to get so many documents. I feel like it was like this thick, the booklet of like all our stuff for the mortgage. Me especially, because I'm self-employed, as you know, I run a business, and for the past few years I've been trying to make sure that my books were like immaculate. I have my company here, I take a salary from the company, and then from that salary I had a savings account. I would save quite a lot every month, paying rent obviously every month very consistently. That just shows your ability to repay a mortgage. I really, a few years ago, tried to get a handle on like my spending. I just needed my business to look good, and my management helped me. You know, they did a pie chart of like where my earnings come from, and between, you know, sponsorships, book stuff, public talks, consulting, commercial modeling stuff, like loads of random things that I have been paid for over the years. And then obviously my YouTube ad revenue. Yeah, because my job is very confusing to like a bank. The first time I went for a mortgage, I went for a mortgage by myself to try and buy a house by myself. And my husband and I were dating at the time, but I was like, it's going to be years before he's going to be in a position to buy a house, and like I just want to own a house anyway, and I'll just buy one by myself. And they were just kind of very confused by my job, and they wouldn't have even given me the same, like they didn't want to apply the same rule to me as they would apply to other people in more like traditional jobs where you get 3.5 times your salary, that you can borrow that much anyway. But yeah, it was just like kind of a lot. And then even when it came to the mortgage, like we had to get a 25-year mortgage because of my job. Yeah, and then even my husband switched jobs in order for us to get this mortgage. Like he's still within the same company but flying from the UK, technically. So it's like, so he could go back to his full wages, and it was just a whole thing. And yeah, I definitely would say like more stress than difficult. The last question I'm going to answer in this video is, how are you choosing furniture and like plates, etc. and stuff? And if Thomas and I had our way, we'd probably just go to antique shops and buy everything, and that'd be us. But like, you know, we don't know shit really about interior design. We know what we like, and we see things and we're like, I like this, but can't really put our finger on what we like about a picture, like an inspo picture online, or like how to kind of take from that and like, you know, bring it all together. So like, this is why I do think interior designers are incredible, and like, you know, there's a reason they are professionals and why they get paid for their services. So yeah, when Kiva, who is with my brother, she's engaged to my brother and we've been friends for years now, but when she was saying that she wanted to help us to design the house and stuff, and it would like also help her with like her college projects and that kind of thing, and just get an experience, we were just like, yes, that would be so fun, because she really knows what we like as well. She listens to us. She has some similar like tastes to us, but she listens, and she's not like trying to just force kind of some style on us or anything. But yeah, like we're obviously, if we see a piece of furniture that we really love, we're gonna go and buy it. But like going forward, we're kind of gonna like sit with her and plan things out before we invest money in stuff that we then might be like, that doesn't go with the colour, we want to paint the walls or whatever. So we're just trying to hold off a bit on like, you know, buying big things that like before we've really come up with a vision for a room. But with stuff like plates and all that, like we're just not that fussy. We're kind of right now just buying whatever is like affordable and not absolute dog shit. Like we're not being too fussy wussy magussy on those things. We're literally going to Tesco and being like, right, yeah, that'll do, here's a potato masher, here's a jug, like that kind of stuff. We're just not that fussed about, because it can be, you know, replaced like in years. We just need everything to function. So right now, like the biggest things for us has just been getting the internet sorted, getting our electric car charger onto the house, just all the basics, and so that everything functions. And now we have a system with our cleaning and with everything else, and it's all come together, and I'm so happy, and I love this place, and I'm so looking forward to building a life here, and I'm taking you along. So yeah, please leave me comments on my coffee's probably gone cold now. Please leave me comments on what you want to see from me. Like I'm having all this like motivation coming back for YouTube. I fell out of love with it for a while. I'm sure you felt that, and I felt very much like I was just obligated to do it, but that feeling's going away now. That I'm gonna have an office, that is just taking it to next level for me, and I'm like, I just can't wait. to create content and to just start another business and have all these ideas, and I'm going to have a room where I can like do my writing, do my work, and then close the door and then be like, now I can just relax, because I've been working out of my bed and off of a couch, the same places that I'm supposed to relax, for like 8 years now, and it is not the one. So yeah, thumbs the video up if you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful at all. I'll see you again very soon in another video. Mwah, kiss, goodbye.